What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the farm. It is Saturday, March the 8th, and I'm gonna go down here and show you what we got going on. So this past week on Monday, Tennessee State Forestry showed up and came out here, and look back here behind me. They started bulldozing in the fire breaks. Walk down through here and show you. I'll probably have to adjust the camera several times because it is not the best time of day to be doing a video. But I have got a full plate of stuff I've got to do. I've been out of town working for the past couple days. Back in town now, and I'm here through this burn time. They're supposed to show up here. Current plan is that they're going to come back. So today's Saturday. They're going to come back either Monday or Tuesday, and they're going to do the whole burn. So we're looking at 16, 17 acres is what we're burning here. So you look back here behind me, you see all the blackberry back here behind me. So blackberry multiflora rose, it's a jungle. I let it get out of control. A few years ago, I was maintaining everything. Tractor broke down on me, and it ended up going through an entire fall season, and I ended up not bush hogging it. The next spring rolled around. Tractor broke down on me again, and I missed another season of bush hogging. I could have maybe went and rented something to do it with, but I didn't. So you can see here, I mean, if I go over here and stand, I mean, this stuff is way up over my head if you look back through there. So it's just a mess, a jungle in there. Thankfully, it's not any worse. There are some areas that are pretty bad. And then you see here, back here, you see the tree sticking up. That's a calorie pear. That's basically a wild Bradford pear. Those things develop great big spikes on them that come out. They're not truly spikes or thorns, but they're like that. They can puncture a tractor tire. So after this burn's over with, I'm going to have to go through on the bush hog, and I'm going to have to bush hog down as much as I can that remains from the burn. So what's going to happen is, so you see here, you've got some green blackberry canes here. These are not going to burn. These will not burn, but all the dead 4 or 5 year undergrowth of blackberry of canes that are dead and piled up on the bottom, and the vines and the honeysuckle that's dead and all that stuff should burn. There's plenty of fuel for the fire, and I'll show you more as we go down in here. But this whole upper edge, this is the pine thicket down here, this whole upper edge up through here, that's all going to end up getting burned. So there should be plenty of fuel there to do that with. Now over here on the other side, this is my uncle's side back over here. Boy, that lighting really changed. He did not want his side burned. So I'm going to have to figure out a plan for how to get that under control. I'm trying to maybe see if I can get a bobcat. We've got the bobcat here on the farm, but it's not big enough. I'm thinking about trying to get a bobcat out here with a front bush hog or a brush grinder on it to go through and just chop all that up, so that way I can get it back into a condition where I can start bush hogging it again. But anyway, we're going to make our way down the trail here. So you look back here behind me, I may have to adjust the lighting so you can see the path. So they brought a really heavy duty bulldozer out, and I wish I had gotten some video of them working here because it was really pretty neat to see, but I was busy working inside. Came outside and they had already done part of it, but they just basically, they didn't bring a chainsaw or nothing. Boy, that's dark. They didn't bring a chainsaw or nothing. They just pushed their way down through here, and you can see the path going all the way down. This is just going down the property line down through here. But as we walk through, kind of spin you around over there, so you can see over here on this section of the pines, there's some deadfall. There's not a whole lot of deadfall in this section. There is a lot of leaf matter and pine needles on the ground that's going to contribute a lot of fuel to this burn. But this side over here is not that bad. There's not a whole lot of deadfall. There's a decent amount of leaf litter. The plan is that this dirt section here where the fire break is at is going to help to keep the fire from spreading over onto the uncle's property, aunt and uncle's property over there. State Forest told me that they're going to bring probably 2 bulldozers out when they come, and probably 6 guys to work this fire. The cool thing is that the local fire department, they found out in the process of trying to get the burn permit and everything taken care of, when they found out about this, they said that this would be an excellent learning opportunity for their guys. And so they're wanting to send some of their, I don't know what you call them, like trainees maybe, I guess, and maybe a couple other guys that need to re-up on some training. They're wanting to send them over here to help work the fire, and they're saying it could be as many as 30 guys that they contribute to this burn. And I'm like, that's fine with me. Send as many as you got. You know, I'll take as many as we can get just to try to keep this thing under control, because last thing I want is this fire to get out of control and create some damage somewhere. There's been enough wildfires here in East Tennessee. Boy, there's big old dog tracks. Wow. Big dog tracks going down this path here. Canine, not probably big coyote tracks, honestly. But I was saying there's been enough wildfires in this area, especially this past week. We had some severe weather come through, really high winds, 60 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts, and there were wildfires broke out in the area. So a lot of people are really nervous about it. But the worst thing you can do is leave this kind of stuff right here unchecked and unmaintained. You need to maintain this stuff, because if a fire were to break out, it would come racing up this hill extremely fast, and my house is just right up there. Whereas if I go through and I burn this off, that's going to knock down that fuel on the ground, and it's going to reduce the risk of a wildfire getting out of control if one were to break out. What I do have to figure out though next is, what is the interval and the frequency at which these controlled burns need to happen. I'm going to work my way down here. It's really steep and slick. There's a bunch of deer tracks. And I'll show you some more down here when I get to the bottom. All right, now we're down in the lower field down here. This is where we pick a lot of our blackberries. And so I've got paths. I've got roads and paths mowed all through here, horizontally, side hill. And what we're going to do, basically, like up above, we're going to burn from this road over this direction. This isn't as bad as the stuff up top. There are more trees that have come up in this. This has been maintained a little bit better. Once again, you know, what I'm thinking is we're going to burn, and then I'll come over behind after we burn, and I'll bush hog down the stuff that isn't burned up, and then I'll just have to come behind with the chainsaw and saw down any remaining. So that pine tree, those poplars over there will have to come down. That autumn olive, there's a big stand of sumac right there. Those, I don't know if those will burn or if I have to cut them down. I'm not sure, but this is going to be really interesting. I mean, this is the first time in 50 plus years this has been burned. It's not very common that you get a lot of burns out here in this area that we're in. I did some work 2 weeks ago in South Georgia. So I was in the Valdosta area for a while, then I drove from Valdosta to Birmingham, and there were controlled burns the entire way from Valdosta to Birmingham. So that's really common down there. It's not that common here in East Tennessee. So you see here's kind of one of the paths that I had maintained. What I do is I come through and I mow it down with the bush hog, and then we pick blackberries on the uphill side and the downhill. Likewise, right here on the other side of this on this autumn olive right here. Come here. There's another path that I keep mowed off. But you see this multiflora rose coming up right here. So there's another one, and then right here is another one. So, I mean, this isn't that bad. It's about every 6 feet, every 6 to 8 feet, I have another row mowed through it, another road pass. But we're going to burn all the way down to the road down there. We're actually going to use the road as the lower fire break. So we're going to burn all the way into the ditch is the plan. All right, now we're over on the other side of my pine thicket. And this area over here is the side that has me more concerned. And when I was walking it the other day with State Forest guys, the guy running it is actually my cousin. And so when we were over here looking at this, he has the same concern that I have. And I'll show you here in just a minute when I get over here what that is. All right, we're over on the far edge of my pine thicket now. And this is almost purely pines in this area. There are a couple of poplars that have come up, but for the most part, and there's a maple, but there are mostly pines in this area. Well, there is a large number of dead pines here. I mean, I'm standing here looking in front of me, and within 30 yards of me, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 dead pines still standing right here in front of me. And Ideally, the control burn is going to come through here and it's going to burn up everything on the ground. And there's a lot of deadfall. I don't know if you can see it, but back over here behind me, there's a pine on the ground over there. There's 2 pines on the ground up here in front of me. There's one up there that's dead, and I didn't even count that one. There's another one I missed. There's one dead right there that's fell over into the top of another tree, and it's kind of, they call it a widow maker, you know, because the trees fell, it's leaning part way over, but it's suspended up in the top of another tree. So if you go in and you try to cut that tree while it's hanging there, you got to be careful on how you're cutting it, because, you know, it can come out on you and drop down on you, and, you know, widow maker, that's the reason for the name. But the ideal situation is that the fire comes through fast and it burns all the leaf litter and pine needles on the ground, and it doesn't necessarily focus on the dead standing trees. That it goes through so fast and it burns everything on the ground that it doesn't really have time to start burning up the dead tree. If it starts burning up the dead tree, then Forest Service said they're going to have a whole other set of challenges here. Thankfully, they're going to have plenty of people out here. I don't really know what they're going to do. If it starts to go up one of the trees, I don't know if they come in with the dozer and push it down, or if they, I don't know. I have no idea. This is, you know, they didn't tell me what they're going to do. They just said that's their biggest concern and what they're going to be primarily watching for. But we've got to get the right weather conditions. We have had breezy weather conditions since that weather came through on Tuesday night. We've had breezy conditions, 15, 20 mile per hour winds, gusts every day, and they can't burn in those kind of conditions. There's actually been burn bans in the area since then. I saw that most of the burn bans have been lifted now because we did get rain a couple days, and the humidity's going back up, which we were really low humidity, which also with the wind and low humidity, that increases the wildfire risk. But so we got to get the right weather conditions in order for this really to happen this week. If it doesn't happen Monday or Tuesday, I think it's supposed to rain again Wednesday, and then that's probably going to push it out another week. And there is a waiting list for people to get this done. I've been on the list for 13 months, and they're just now able to get here to me. So, you know, you got to play it by ear. You don't know what the weather's going to do. You're at the mercy of the weather, and hopefully we get this thing taken care of. I'm going to walk on up here, and I may show you one more place here in just a second. I mean, if you just look over through there, you can see the tangled mess of deadfall that's over in there. There's, just looking from here without walking over in it, I think there's 8 trees on the ground right over in there. That's a lot of fuel. Now the catch is, it's all loblolly pine, and it's been on the ground for 3 or 4 years, and most of it's rotten. So it's not really going to burn up in a, you know, wild blaze. It's going to more than likely just smolder. Anytime you try to burn something rotten, usually it just kind of smolders and sits there. It doesn't really do a intense hot burn like things like pine needles and leaves and fresh deadfall and stuff like that will do. So over there's my aunt and uncle's pine stand. It's very similar to mine down here below me. That is all also going to be burned. You might be able to see a little bit. The power lines and the fiber optic line runs up just on the edge of the pines. So State Forestry the other day, they actually took their dozer up underneath the power line to clean out anything underneath it to try to minimize the risk of a flame or intense heat coming up from below it and damaging any of those lines. I work from home. The wife works from home. My aunt over there works from home part of the time. So if we lose the fiber optic line, then we have no way to work at that point. So that's kind of a big deal. We need to keep that under control. And all right, so one more thing here, not burn related, but one of the next things I got to do, and I'm probably going to do it here today, is our fruit trees. So thankfully, none of them have budded out yet. The peach trees had already budded out by this time last year. And then we had a big snow come through, and we had snow all over the peach trees with peach blooms all over them. They haven't even begun to start budding out yet. I think they're probably not too far away just from looking at them. I'm sorry, I said apple. I said peach. These are the apple trees right here. The peach tree right there It also has not budded out yet, but it's closer. You can see the little green. Yeah, it's really close. It's getting really close. But I still got to prune this tree. So I'm going to go get my stuff and I'm going to start pruning this tree and get that knocked out, because I need to get that taken care of really before those buds come out, so that it can focus, the tree can focus its energy on the buds that are actually there, instead, that are going to stay there, instead of focusing energy on buds that I come in and then I end up cutting out. So just to try to maximize the energy from the tree. The other thing I'm struggling with this year that I'm going to see how it does is my honeybees are all gone. They died this year, and so I've got no honeybees this year. Last year was the best peach year we've had since we put the peach trees in. There were so many honeybees. The tree was hanging full of peaches, and now the honeybees have all died on me. I have no honeybees. Now, thankfully, there are plenty of wild bees, wild pollinators here on the farm. They live in the woods, and then I've got a couple neighbors with honeybees. So, I mean, I'm still going to get pollination, but it's probably not going to be at the rate that it was last year, which may not be a problem really, because last year I almost had too many. And even though I went through and thinned probably 70-75% of the peaches off, I think there were still too many on the tree. But we will see how that goes. But I'm going to go ahead and get that started and see what else we can get into today. I may fire up the Bobcat in a minute and try to push some of this brush over off the hillside over to where the burn's going to be, so that it gets burned up in the controlled burn, instead of just it laying here and piling up and being in the way. There's another limb that's fell out of the tree too. Yeah, these winds have been crazy up here lately. All right, I'm going to go over here and see what else I can get into. All right, I finished up the pruning of the peach tree, so you can see there behind me, I mean, I took a lot out of that peach tree. I didn't really prune it last year. Got a little behind with all my work travel, but I mean, you can see I took some great big sections here out. I had problems last year. I had so much in it that it was actually breaking over. So I really needed to cut it way back this year to really reduce the likelihood of having it break over and potentially die, you know, because thankfully the part that broke off last year was, there's the part that's going straight up. That actually split up near the top last year and fell all the way to the ground. And I was really worried that the tree was going to get, or at least that part was going to get diseased, or bugs get into it or something. But thankfully that didn't happen. And then look here, you can actually see right here on the tree, and I'll bring you in close to that so you can see that. Spin this around here. Lighten it up so you can see it a little bit better. So that's actually where this great big limb, this is the second largest limb on the tree. It actually was splitting under the weight of the peaches on the tree. So that's part of the reason that I did such a dramatic pruning this year. Spin back around here. I accidentally killed the camera just then. All right, I gotta get all this stuff cleaned up here. The apple trees did not require so much of pruning on them. They are dwarf apple trees. They are not gonna get much bigger than that, but I've got to figure out something with them. The past 3 years, squirrels, deer, raccoons, you name it, because, let me show you this real quick. The trees are not even as tall as me, and I am not vertically blessed. What happens is when the fruit starts coming in, it's at head height for the deer. Squirrels come in, climb up, take them off. I have had squirrels run across the driveway in front of me with apples in their mouths going over into the hardwoods across the driveway. So I've got to figure something out this year to try to keep, and crows too. Crows are terrible as well. I got to figure something out to try to keep them from getting it, whether that is putting some kind of a fence structure around it or something. I don't know. I've got plenty of leftover chicken wire and things like that. I could maybe bring some T-post out here. Can't get this lighting right because I'm either in the direct sun or in the shade. I could put some like 4 T-posts in here, and I could string some chicken wire around it to try to keep the squirrels, raccoons, and deer out of it. And then I'd have to string some netting or something over the top to keep the crows out. At least that would help us get our harvest at the end of the year. I didn't really want to have to do that, but I got to do something. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time with these apple trees because they're not going to produce. Really don't get a lot of issues with anything eating the peaches. Last year, I put those big balloons out in the trees, and I started having crows come into it. I put those big balloons out, and the crows, squirrels, everything just disappeared. Those big balloons work amazing. I'll show you some more of those this year whenever we get into that time of year. But I'm going to get this stuff piled up. I got to get the tractor or the Bobcat fired up so I can move this stuff over into the burn zone. And then I've got a bunch of cedar limbs over here and things that I'm going to try to push over into the burn zone so we can just get all that burned at the same time and not have to worry about doing a separate brush fire burn. Just let it all be burned at the same time. So let me try to get that tractor or bush hog fired up, see which one I'm going to use, and I'll come back to you in a minute. All right, we got all those tree limbs and everything from where I pruned the fruit trees drug away. I used the tractor and the rock rake to do that. I actually used that rock rake in the fall to rake up all the leaves from these trees, all these hickory trees and persimmon trees that surround our yard in the dogwoods. And I mean, I can rake our yard in no time with that rock rake. I mean, it just pulls, you know, it'll do 6 or 7 wheelbarrow loads at one time. It'll just haul off. I'll raise it up, then it'll dump them out across the field. Super fast work. I can use it to drag all those sticks and everything out of here too. Then I came over here to get on the Bobcat. I was going to use the Bobcat to move. You can't really see it. There's a pile of, right in there, there's a pile of cedar limbs and things from this cedar tree that we've been working up, plus other trees around the yard here. And I was going to use the Bobcat here to just go over there and push them out into the field because it's bigger stuff and it's not going to work so well with the rock rake. And Bobcat, I hadn't run the Bobcat since October. So it hadn't been ran in nearly 6 months. And started right up, just turned right over. I was afraid it would either have a dead battery or be hard to turn over. But it fired right up immediately, sat there and I let it idle. And then all of a sudden an alarm started going off and checked the quick reference code. And it appears that it's low in hydrostatic fluid, and I don't have any. So I just had to shut it down. I'm going to have to go get some. Either maybe Dad has some or I'll have to go buy some. I don't know, but need to get that taken care of. That could actually explain when I was using it in October, it seemed to be really low power. It was really struggling at times, and that really makes sense. It wasn't giving me an alarm, but it makes sense. If the hydraulic fluid is low, then that could explain why I was struggling with some bucket lifts. And when I was trying to kind of scoop dirt and rocks, it really struggled to push in. So that would kind of explain that. I must have just been right at the limit of where the low level alarm is at on it. But anyway, so it's out of commission for now. I'm not going to be able to move that stuff until I get some fluid for it. If I can't find some tonight, then I'll just grab some tomorrow after church on the way home, and we can put it in that time. But that's probably going to be it for today as far as the video goes. I just got a lot of piddly stuff to do. I've got to finish spreading some of this rock that's in here. I'm just going to do that by hand. And I don't know. I need to go inside and look at my list because I was really focusing on getting the stuff ready for the burn. Well, now that the Bobcat's out of commission temporarily, I can't remember what else I was going to do at this point. So I need to go look at my list and get me a drink. I am thirsty and getting a headache. I think haven't had enough fluids in me today. The wife wanted our master bedroom redone. So, you know, one of the videos before I talked about how we had a friend from church over here putting new tile down. So we got that all done. And then she had me go in and repaint the bedroom. So that was another task, another project we had going on. But that's going to be it for this video, I think. And thank you all for coming along so much. Hopefully I'm here, and hopefully the burn goes off as planned without any concerns. Praying for a good burn without any kind of issues. But I'm going to try to get as much video of that as I can to share it with you because it is a really big deal to us. It's a big deal to the neighbors. I've talked to them about it. We've got neighbors that are going to come over and watch it. So it's kind of a big deal around here. So thank y'all so much for being here, for following along. Please drop a comment below. Let me know what you think, if there's anything you want to see or hear about. And we're getting close to doing more gardening stuff. So there'll be more gardening content coming up here really, really soon. Maybe even in the next video. And just thank you so much. I wish you have a wonderful week. God bless.